Morning, Mike. How you doing today?
Morning, Marcus. I'm doing well. How are you?
Very good. Thanks for coming out this morning.
Thank you for having us out.
Well, we're here in northern San Antonio in the parking lot of this retail center. And I don't know if you knew, but we're in the recharge zone of the Edwards Aquifer.
Yeah, I saw the sign driving up here on the highway saying entering the recharge zone.
Yeah, well, there's some pretty interesting things here and features that might be of interest to the operations of the fire department. Let's go check them out.
Okay, sounds good.
Well, hey, Mike, this is one of the features that I was wanting to show you here in this parking lot. And if you notice, we're in this closed depression. So it's almost like a big bowl here, and this is a pretty typical karst type of formation. And the reason it's this type of collapse zone here, or this bowl, is because there's probably a cave underneath here.
Okay, so there's a cave in the middle of the parking lot.
Right, it's been covered over with concrete and this gravel here.
Okay.
But even though it's been covered over, it still has a lot of cracks and a high potential for water to infiltrate rapidly straight down to the aquifer.
Okay, so even though it's covered, we still need to be mindful of what goes into it.
Right, and it doesn't always have to be features that are as large as this. Okay. So there are smaller features that are much more subtle that could be just around the corner and you don't know about. So it's really good practice just to be aware that even though you may not be able to see one of these pathways directed to the aquifer, it could be directly underneath your feet.
Okay, I never would have thought there was a cave in the middle of this parking lot that would filter straight down into the aquifer.
Caves are everywhere here. In fact, we'll go look at some here a little bit later that are just behind the businesses here.
Okay, sounds good.
Well, hey, Mike, we're here behind that retail center that we were just at, looking at that big sinkhole. And I want to show you some other examples of karst features that are in this setting.
Okay.
In fact, here's one right here.
Where, right here?
Right here. Wouldn't have known it.
No.
This little cluster of rocks, if you look closely, it's in a little depression. It's much smaller than the one we saw in the parking lot, but it's still a significant karst feature that could lead directly down to the aquifer. So if you look a little more closely at this, you'll actually see a fracture in the limestone. See this big crack that's nearly 6 inches wide?
Yeah, I see that.
So that's real typical of what we see here in the Edwards, and that's how caves form. The limestone will get cracked and water will start moving through, and those cracks will get wider and wider with time. Sometimes you'll see other features along the same line, so you can imagine that limestone cracking, and that crack it may extend for hundreds of meters in either direction. In fact, this fracture here may be almost in line with that cave that we saw in the parking lot. In the direction to the north and to the south, it may intersect another cave if we go and look.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
So let's go back and look in that direction and see if we can find anything.
Okay.
All right. Well, hey, look at this over here, Mike.
Okay, I see that.
See, he's got this collapsed sinkhole. It's real similar to what we saw in that parking lot, except it didn't have the gravel, so there's all these large, loose rocks in here. And if we were to dig out some of these rocks, it's likely we'd find a cave below here.
Really?
In fact, I see another depression over there. Let's go check it out and see what it leads to.
All right, let's go look.
Hey, look at this, Mike.
Oh, wow.
Looks like a cave to me.
Yeah. I would never have guessed this was here.
And we're right here behind that retail center.
Wow.
I don't know how far it goes down in there, but it likely goes all the way down to the aquifer. You can see these cracks in the rock right here.
Yeah, I see that.
Those are the same kind of cracks that we saw at the last feature. Even though you can't see features like this everywhere, there are literally hundreds of them that are just below the surface that we just don't have any idea that they're here. So caves like this and the features that we've seen all day here are all part of an integrated system that's associated with the area around this retail area.
Okay. So Marcus, if the fire department responds to an area like this, a retail center that has these type of karst features around it, and there is a fire, we really need to be concerned of our runoff because it looks like it can go straight down to the water table.
Absolutely. So when you're putting out the fire, anything that's associated with the runoff that comes out of that fire, any chemicals or contaminants, could be washed down with your water directly into features just like this if you're not careful.
Oh, and go straight to the water table.
Yep.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Hey, look at this, Mike. There's a drainage, a dry creek bed back here just behind that cave.
Oh, wow.
Something you want to be really aware of with any runoff entering, because there could be a cave just like the one we saw just at the end of here. So you never know in these natural features.
So even though features like this are designed to catch runoff, we want to try and keep the runoff from a fire that may be contaminated from getting down here, because we don't know what could be at the end of this little stream.
Absolutely. So not only awareness of the karst features that are immediately around and drainage features just like this, but also an understanding of the topography and those drainages and where those drainages may lead to that we don't know about. That's really important to keep track of. So containing that water before it reaches a feature just like this, or a cave like the one we saw, or even some of the more subtle features are really important, because anytime water with the contaminants reaches a feature like that, it can go straight to the aquifer.
Okay. I can see how that would be important.
So stormwater retention facilities just like this are actually beneficial areas to try to focus that runoff that comes from your fires. These things are actually designed to help contain that water and give it a place to slowly settle out or limit its infiltration capacity into the aquifer.
So Marcus, everything that I'm understanding, the fire companies through pre-fire planning, they can identify catch basins like this, identify the inputs around the facility where the runoff is going to go, and identify if it's going to go to a catch basin like this or to stormwater. And that would be helpful for us to know whether or not we want the runoff to go to that particular input or if we don't want it to.
Absolutely. So if you went around and inventoried all of the stormwater drain inputs from the parking lot, it'd be good to know if they all come here or if some of them go to a natural feature just like what we were at earlier. And so you'd want to channel that water to these man-made structures that are designed to minimize infiltration into the aquifer.
Okay, well that's good to know.